There's a power most men never master, not because it's hidden, but because it's quiet. Patience. The ability to wait without weakening, to plan without panicking, to prepare while others rush. In a world addicted to instant results, the man who waits wins. Why? Because patience lets you observe longer, think deeper, and strike with precision when the time is right. How do you build that kind of strength? It starts with silence and ends with victory that looks effortless. In a few moments, I'll teach you how patience can become your sharpest weapon to wait, strike, and win smart. Power is born in silence, not in noise. You've been taught that loud effort means progress, that if people don't see your struggle, it doesn't count. But this is false. The greatest victories were built in silence, where no one clapped, no one watched, and no one believed. You grow strongest when no one's watching. Because in silence, you're not distracted. You're not reacting. You're designing. You're becoming. Why do some men fall while others rise in the same soil? The answer is patience. The seed doesn't scream when buried. It waits quietly until it breaks the ground with force. You must learn to wait, not lazily, but purposefully. Waiting is not weakness. It is precision. While others rush, you prepare. While they announce, you plan. And when it's time, you move. And they wonder how you did it so suddenly. Picture this, a blacksmith in a quiet forge. No crowd, just sparks, sweat, and steel. He hammers each blow with patience. Then one day, a sword is finished, and everyone sees a masterpiece. But only he knows how long it took. Have you confused visibility with progress? Are you chasing noise instead of building strength? What you build in silence is what lasts when the noise fades. Your delayed reaction is your greatest weapon. You don't win by reacting fast. You win by responding right. A lion doesn't leap at every sound. It waits, studies, stalks, then strikes. Most men live in reaction. Something happens, they panic, they respond, they shout, but not you. You will learn the art of delayed power. You will hold your energy, not because you're weak, but because you're calculating. The longer you observe, the clearer your target. The slower your breath, the sharper your blade. When you finally act, it isn't emotional. It is final. Why does patience give you power? Because the world expects haste. They expect you to flinch, to reply, to fight back, but you confuse them. You smile, you listen, you wait. And then when the opening appears, you act with such certainty it leaves them stunned. Imagine you're in a room of loud men, each fighting to be heard. You sit back, you say nothing, and then, at the right moment, you speak. One sentence. That silences the entire room. When you don't react, you force others to reveal themselves. When you wait, they grow careless. And that is when you win. So ask yourself, are you reacting or are you studying? The man who waits watches the world move in his favor. Everything you want is already in motion. Success is moving, love is moving, wealth is moving, respect is moving. But not everything is moving toward you. And here's the trap. If you begin chasing everything that passes by, you might end up further from it than when you started. You must understand this principle. Movement without purpose is noise, but stillness with preparation is power. The world doesn't reward the man who runs wild after every spark. It rewards the man who burns quietly, who prepares with patience, who becomes a magnet for what truly belongs to him. Impatience is the mark of the uncertain man. He sees something beautiful and believes he must seize it immediately or lose it forever. But nothing truly valuable is rushed. A mango pulled too early from the tree is sour. A man who rushes into greatness without readiness ends up crushed under the weight of it. The world doesn't ignore you because you're still. It studies you. It watches to see why you are still. Is your stillness fear, or is it rootedness? Is your silence weakness, or is it wisdom? When you prepare with quiet strength, life takes notice. It rearranges circumstances. It clears paths, not for those who run, but for those who are ready. This is not passivity. This is magnetic patience. You are not avoiding the race. You are sharpening your blade before the battle. You are building your foundation before the storm. And when the opportunity comes, it will not require chasing. It will land in your palm like fruit dropping from the tree because you waited until it was ripe. Why does patience attract power? Because the universe respects discipline, and patience is discipline, disguised as stillness. It's the art of preparation when others are distracted. It's the strength to wait without wasting time, to grow without needing applause, to become more even when no one sees. Think of the mountain climber. He does not sprint to the peak. He studies the terrain. He prepares his body. He respects the mountain. While others rush forward and exhaust themselves halfway, he conserves energy. He climbs with rhythm, not emotion. And when he finally reaches the summit, he doesn't just arrive, he remains. That's what patience builds in you: endurance, longevity, power that doesn't collapse. While the impatient man burns bright and fades fast, the prepared man shines steadily for years. Ask yourself, are you trying to force life to move on your timing? Or are you becoming the man who deserves what he desires? Are you rushing into relationships, careers, and goals that haven't matured yet? Or are you learning, building, growing, so that when the right thing arrives, you're ready to hold it? Patience isn't weakness, it's wisdom in motion. It's a man standing in place, but advancing within. Each day he learns, each day he strengthens his mind, each day he becomes more valuable, until the world itself begins to notice his weight, his gravity. And when that moment comes, he doesn't need to chase. He doesn't need to beg. The world brings him what he has earned. So stand still, not with idleness, but with intention. Let the world come to a man who has made himself ready. The man who masters timing masters everything. Power is not in motion, it is in timed motion. It is not in doing something right now, but in knowing exactly when to do it. A man who acts too soon finds the ground unready. His bridge crumbles under weight that time could have strengthened. A man who acts too late watches the opportunity vanish like a train he was too slow to catch. But the man who acts with perfect timing, he doesn't just succeed, he reshapes the world around him. Timing is the hidden weapon of the wise. It isn't loud, it isn't flashy, but it determines everything. You see, most men confuse movement with progress. They run, not because they are sure of the direction, but because they are afraid to stand still, afraid of being left behind, afraid of being unseen. But you are not most men. You are learning to sense the season. You are learning that not all moments are equal. That action, when taken too early, becomes chaos, and action taken too late becomes regret. True power lies not in speed, but in synchronization, in aligning your step with the right hour. Why is timing more powerful than action itself? Because most men act from fear. They act because they're nervous, because they see someone else moving and think they must follow. They feel pressure. They fear missing out. But fear-based action is never strategic. It's survival. And survival will not lead you to greatness. You must become like the farmer. The wise farmer doesn't scatter seeds in the snow. He doesn't rush out in spring with a sickle, desperate to harvest what hasn't even bloomed. He watches. He studies the soil. He tracks the clouds. He knows when to wait and when to work. And because he respects timing, he reaps more with less effort. The seasons are not something he controls, but his response to them is. And that's where his power lies. You are no different. Life has its seasons. There's a time to speak and a time to stay silent. A time to build and a time to demolish, a time to advance and a time to wait. If you rush the process, you ruin the result. But if you train your instincts, if you master patience, observation, and awareness, you will act at the exact moment that guarantees the outcome. Timing requires discipline. It requires trust in your preparation. It asks you to observe instead of panic, to plan instead of react. The man who moves on time doesn't need to force doors open. They swing wide because he has arrived in alignment with purpose. Now ask yourself this: have you been acting out of panic, or have you been acting out of purpose? Have you launched too soon, spoken too early, forced things before they were ready? Or have you trained yourself to wait, not with laziness, but with strategy? The man who controls his timing never begs for results. He commands them, not because he's louder, not because he's luckier, but because he knows something most do not. Everything comes to the man who waits for his moment and then strikes without hesitation. This is not about being slow, it's about being prepared. You are not delaying life, you are building strength, building clarity, sharpening your tools, so that when the right door opens, you don't hesitate. You enter fully prepared. You will become the man who senses the shift in the air, who knows when the tide is turning, who listens to the rhythm of life and moves in harmony with it. That is when power becomes effortless. That is when you stop chasing and start arriving. Train yourself to know the season. The clock of destiny does not tick loudly, but it ticks for the man who listens. And when your moment comes, you will know, and you will move, and the world will respond. Quiet preparation makes loud victory inevitable. Victory is not earned on the battlefield. It is claimed long before the first blow is struck. It belongs to the man who is already prepared. The war is merely a formality when the real battle has been fought in silence, in the shadows, through disciplined and deliberate effort when no one was watching. You do not sharpen your sword during the fight. You sharpen it before. You prepare in the quiet hours when everyone else is sleeping, when no one is clapping. No audience, no spotlight, just you, your mission, and the steady grind of self-mastery. That's where your edge is carved. That's where your advantage is born. While others are loud with intention, you are quiet with preparation, and in time the difference becomes undeniable. You don't win because you shout louder. You win because your sword was ready before theirs was even drawn. You win because your reflexes were trained. Your mind was clear. Your muscles were prepared for war, not on the day of, but from the hundreds of days before. Why does quiet preparation matter? Because the world celebrates performance, but it forgets the rehearsal. It sees the victory, but rarely asks how it was built. But you understand what most miss. You know that public power is only possible through private preparation. The more you sweat in practice, the less you bleed in conflict. The man who trains in silence is never caught off guard. He doesn't rely on luck or adrenaline. He relies on the certainty that comes from readiness. He doesn't panic. He doesn't flinch. He has already faced the situation in his mind, his body, and his heart, again and again. Imagine a boxer, not a famous one, not one with endorsements or cameras following him, just a man in a dim basement, training alone. For 5 years he sweats, he spars, he studies tapes, he perfects his stance, he sharpens his timing. While others talk, he toils. Then the day comes. He steps into the ring, not to try, but to execute, and he dominates. Not because of what he did that day, but because of every single day before it. The real fight was never in the arena. It was in the dark hours when he was overlooked, underestimated, and unknown. That's the kind of preparation that builds unshakable confidence, not arrogance, not noise, but the quiet certainty that says, I have paid the price. So I ask you now, are you preparing like you mean it, or are you waiting for life to surprise you? Because life will test you, whether you're ready or not. It will present the opportunity, the challenge, the crisis. And if you haven't trained, you will panic. You will scramble, you will lose. But if you've prepared, you will respond, not react. You will move with clarity. You will act with control. Because your mind was conditioned, your soul was fortified, and your strength was stored in silence. Preparation is not wasted. It is not invisible. It is stored power. And when the moment comes, it will speak for you. You won't need to announce it. You won't need to prove it. Your presence will say everything. Your actions will be clean. Your results will be sharp, because you prepared when no one was watching. That is the way of the warrior. Do not wait until the opportunity appears to begin training. That is too late. Prepare now. Prepare daily. Build yourself in private so the world cannot shake you in public. Remember, the battle is not won on the day of the fight. It is won in the still hours of preparation, in the sacrifices no one sees, in the effort no one praises. When the world calls on you, you will not rise to the occasion. You will rise to the level of your preparation. You build reputation in patience and destroy it in impulse. Your reputation is your shadow. It follows you everywhere, whether you're aware of it or not. It speaks before you enter the room, it lingers long after you've left, and it is shaped not by your victories, not by your declarations, but by the small, silent moments when no one is applauding. By how you hold yourself, not just how you promote yourself. One careless word, one reckless reaction, one eruption of pride or anger. That's all it takes to undo a year's worth of patience, discipline, and grace. Your name is not built in a day, but it can be broken in a moment. This is why true strength lies in restraint. Not silence out of fear, but silence out of strategy. Not inaction because you are uncertain, but deliberate stillness because you are wise. People do not trust the loudest voice. They trust the calmest presence. The man who pauses before speaking, the man who listens with intention, the man who weighs his words, not because he is timid, but because he knows his words have weight. Power is never in proving a point. It's in holding your dignity above the need to be right in every moment. Why does patience protect your name? Because when you delay action, you invite wisdom. You allow emotion to settle. You give your soul time to weigh the consequences. Patience is not avoidance. It is leadership over your lower nature. It is command over your impulses. And that control becomes visible to others. It radiates. It earns trust. It earns respect. But when you rush, when you act from anger, from fear, from ego, you hand the steering wheel over to emotion, and emotion is a terrible driver. It crashes reputations. It burns bridges. It builds a name no one relies on for long. Picture a man in court, falsely accused of a crime he did not commit. The room is full, the air is thick with judgment. Whispers fill the hall. All eyes are on him, not to hear his case, but to see his reaction. Will he explode? Will he break? Will he confirm their suspicions with a single outburst? But he stands still, calm, measured. His voice, when he finally speaks, is low but certain. His face shows pain, but not panic. Not because he is weak, but because his strength lies in restraint. He knows that in this moment, how he behaves says more than any speech could. And slowly, even the doubters begin to believe him, not because of his defense, but because of his discipline. This is the power of reputation built through patience. Your name is not what you say it is. It's what others whisper when you're not there. And that name is built moment by moment, with every choice, every reaction, every pause when your ego screams to speak, every deep breath when the world tempts you to lash out. What kind of name are you building? Are you the man who guards his words like precious coins, or the one who spends them carelessly and hopes to repair the damage later? Do you treat your silence as a weapon of strength or as an absence of control? A man who guards his name like treasure lives rich in trust, in power, in influence, because others know when he speaks, it matters. When he acts, it is thoughtful. When he's silent, it is not weakness, it is calculation. The world will always try to provoke you. It will poke your pride. It will misjudge you. It will pressure you to react. But your discipline is your defense. Your restraint is your strategy. Remember, reputation is not a banner you wave, it is a foundation you build. And every quiet decision, every patient response, every dignified silence lays another stone. So guard your name. Guard it like treasure. Because once it's lost, it's not easily reclaimed. But when it's protected, it becomes your most powerful currency. Let your name be your fortress. Let your shadow walk before you with honor. And let the world learn that the man who speaks last speaks loudest. Every delay is an invitation to go deeper, not give up. Most men misunderstand delay. To them, it feels like rejection, like life has said no. They whisper to themselves, "It didn't happen, so it must never happen." And in that moment of doubt, they stop moving. They give up on the goal. They lower their standard. But you must be different. You must train your mind to see delay not as denial, but as direction. Delay does not mean the door is closed. It means you are not yet ready to walk through it. Delay says, not now, but prepare. Not yet, but refine. The impatient man takes delay personally. He interprets it as failure. He throws his tools to the ground. He curses the sky and walks away. But the wise man, the patient man, receives delay as instruction. He understands that timing is a language, and delay is how life teaches him to strengthen what is weak. Delay is not punishment, it is preparation. It is the universe's way of asking you, are you truly ready to hold what you've asked for? Why are delays so powerful? Because they reveal what you didn't know you lacked. They expose the cracks in your foundation. They test your character when the applause is gone and the lights are off. They force you to confront your blind spots, your laziness, your excuses. And in that pressure, in that silence, you have two choices, collapse or grow. You see, if success arrives too soon, it often slips through your fingers. You may get the opportunity, but not the endurance. The platform, but not the preparation. The title, but not the wisdom to carry its weight. And without that inner strength, what looked like a blessing becomes a burden. But when success arrives on time, after your development, then it fits. Not loosely, not forcefully, but like a tailored suit. Like armor, it protects you instead of crushing you, because you have become the man who can sustain what he has received. Picture this. You are building a bridge across a powerful river. You're eager. You want to walk across. But instead of measuring carefully, you rush the job. You skip steps, you cut corners, the first storm arrives, and the bridge collapses. All your effort gone. But if you take your time, study the current, test the support beams, choose the right wood, you build something stronger. You build something that doesn't just carry you, it carries others. It becomes a structure others rely on. and that's the reward of honoring the delay. So ask yourself, are you seeing delay as punishment or as preparation? When something doesn't happen right away, do you retreat into frustration or do you refocus and go deeper? Do you stop showing up or do you use the pause to sharpen your mind, strengthen your body, and clarify your path? The man who uses delay to deepen his foundation becomes unshakable. He is not thrown by disappointment. He is not broken by waiting because he understands that every extra day is a gift, a moment to become better than yesterday. Delay does not mean no. It means more is required. It means the reward is still being shaped. And so are you. And here's the truth. When you change your view of delay, you change your destiny. Because instead of quitting early, you rise stronger. Instead of doubting yourself, you double down on your growth. You turn delay into discipline, waiting into wisdom. And the result? You do not just reach your goal, you own it. The greatest things in life rarely come fast. Oak trees don't grow in days. Cathedrals are not built overnight. And the man of character, the man of legacy, is not formed in a rush. He is forged in delay, in the space between desire and delivery, in the stillness where others quit and he continues. So the next time life says, not yet, don't shrink back, dig deeper. Delay is not denial, it is direction. And if you walk it with patience, it will lead you to everything that belongs to you. On time, fully prepared, unstoppable. The strongest decisions are made in stillness. Most people make their decisions in noise. They decide under pressure, surrounded by voices, urgency, emotion, and chaos. They make choices not from clarity, but from panic, not from principle, but from impulse. In that atmosphere, judgment gets clouded, vision gets blurred, the heart is rushed, and the consequence? Regret, often dressed up as boldness. But you must choose a different path. The strongest decisions are not born in noise. They are born in silence, in stillness, in solitude, in the quiet spaces where the world no longer screams and your own voice can finally be heard. You don't need to move fast. You need to move right. And to move right, you must think clearly. That clarity can't be found when you're reacting to everything around you. It can only be found when you pause, when you allow the dust to settle and let your mind come into focus. Stillness is not weakness. It is discipline. It is the strength to wait before you act, the courage to think deeply when the world demands quick answers. In a culture that glorifies speed and urgency, stillness is a rare and powerful rebellion. It's not about doing nothing, it's about making measured movement, the kind that comes from awareness, not anxiety. Why is stillness the birthplace of good judgment? Because when you act without reflection, you're not really deciding, you're reacting. And reaction is dangerous when it's disconnected from wisdom. Without pause, you cannot see the full picture. You mistake emotion for truth, urgency for importance. But when you pause, you begin to separate impulse from insight. You don't just do what feels right, you do what is right. Picture yourself as a captain of a ship. You're out at sea. Suddenly a storm rolls in, the waves rise, the wind screams, the sky darkens. Everything in you wants to grab the wheel and steer wildly, anything to feel like you're doing something. But a wise captain doesn't steer in panic. He waits. He doesn't ignore the storm, but he refuses to be controlled by it. He finds the North Star. He studies the wind. He calculates his path. And then he steers. Not recklessly, but deliberately. That's the difference between the man who makes decisions in noise and the man who makes them in clarity. Stillness is where direction is discovered. It's where you remember your values, where you see the cost clearly, where you listen to what your soul is saying, not just what others are shouting. And this is especially true in a world full of constant distractions and opinions. Social media, news alerts, everyone talking, everyone rushing, everyone reacting. But what if you chose not to be like everyone? What if, instead of adding to the noise, you withdrew from it? Not forever, just long enough to hear yourself again. You'll be shocked at how much wisdom you already have. Once you make space for it, ask yourself this: are your decisions made from clarity or from chaos? Are you moving because you've thought it through or because you're afraid of standing still? Stillness doesn't mean inaction. It means measured movement. It means movement with direction. It means saying, I will not be rushed by panic. I will not be dragged by opinion. I will move when I am ready, when truth, not fear, leads me. And here's the truth. The best decisions you will ever make will not come from pressure. They will come from peace. The best paths you will ever choose will come after reflection, not reaction. And the best version of you will rise, not in moments of noise, but in moments of stillness. So when life storms around you, pause. When urgency tries to steal your focus, breathe. When others push you to react, wait. Because the one who rules his inner world can navigate the outer world with unmatched power. Let others rush, let others react, but you, be still. Then move, not wildly, but with wisdom. Patience reveals the truth that haste always hides. The truth has a rhythm of its own. It does not shout. It does not demand attention. It rises quietly, patiently, inevitably. But only if you let it. Only if you resist the urge to rush. Because the moment you push, force, or act prematurely, you interrupt the truth's natural emergence. You place your hopes over your vision, and in doing so, you trade clarity for comfort. When you rush, you don't see things as they are. You see them as you want them to be. But when you wait, when you hold steady in stillness and silence, the mask slips. Truth stands bare. Not because you chased it, but because you gave it space to reveal itself. Many people reveal their true nature not through confessions, but through time. If you are wise, if you are grounded, if you are patient enough to watch instead of react, they will eventually betray their own image, not to you, but to the clock. Time is a great revealer, and for the man who observes, it is also a protector. Why does truth belong to the patient? Because time has no loyalty to lies. It wears down performance. It erodes deception. The actor forgets his script, the liar forgets his version, and eventually what remains is not the crafted image, but the core. And only the patient man sees it. Haste blinds you. It distorts your judgment. It forces decisions before evidence has had a chance to arrive. And that blindness, it costs you your peace, your power, your direction. It leads to regret. But when you wait, you gain more than time. You gain vision. You learn. You see the patterns others miss. You catch the shift in tone, the inconsistency in action, the silence when there should have been words. Patience doesn't just slow you down, it sharpens you. Imagine this, you meet someone, a new business partner, a romantic interest, a potential friend. They're charming, confident, persuasive. Everything sounds perfect. The temptation? To move fast, to trust quick, to lock in what feels right. But you wait. Not from fear, but from wisdom. You ask questions. You listen deeply. You don't fill the silence. You observe. And then, like oil rising to the surface of water, the truth appears. Maybe it's a small contradiction. Maybe it's a moment of anger. Maybe it's how they treat someone when they think no one's watching. But now, you see, not because you pressed, but because you paused. And in that pause, truth had room to breathe. How many times in your life have you paid the price for rushing? How many deals, relationships, or opportunities did you dive into with enthusiasm, only to later uncover a truth you could have known if you had just waited? Truth is not a secret that hides from you. It is a signal waiting for your stillness. When you move too quickly, you override the signal. But when you sit quietly, you receive it. If you give people enough time, they will always show you who they are. Not through words, but through consistency, or the lack of it. Not through declarations, but through patterns. And once you see it, you'll know exactly what to do. There is a power in the man who waits, who watches, who listens. He is not passive, he is prepared. He doesn't need to control others because he controls himself. And in doing so, he earns the one thing the rushing man never gets: clarity. The rushing man looks confident, but he is desperate to confirm what he hopes is true. The patient man may appear calm, but he is uncovering what is true. And that difference, it defines the outcome. So train yourself to wait, not endlessly, not aimlessly, but intentionally. Sharpen your ability to observe without assumption. Sit in rooms, watch people. Let their words echo and their actions play out. Let the truth surface. And when it does, you'll be ready. Because you didn't chase it, you welcomed it. And that, my friend, is how the wise win. Not by rushing toward clarity, but by waiting for it to rise. The quiet man commands the loud room. There is a kind of power found in silence that no amount of noise can ever replicate. It cannot be faked, borrowed, or forced. It is earned. The quiet man is not empty, he is precise. He doesn't beg for attention, he commands it. He doesn't chase the room. The room slowly, inevitably turns to face him. In a world obsessed with noise, constant commentary, and endless reaction, the man who can sit still, who can remain unmoved while others flail, stands apart. He becomes a figure of strength, of focus, of mystery. And mystery in leadership is often more potent than charisma. When you speak less, each word becomes sharper, it carries weight. People lean in, they listen. Why? Because you've trained them to expect value when you speak, not volume. In a marketplace of noise, value is rare, and what is rare becomes respected. Likewise, when you move less, your actions speak louder. The man who acts without explaining himself builds an aura. His silence becomes the canvas on which others project meaning, strength, purpose. He moves when he must, not when he feels. And that discipline, that restraint, is where leadership begins. Why does the quiet man lead? Because restraint is rare, and anything rare becomes valuable. It is easy to talk, easy to interrupt, easy to react, but it is hard to hold your fire, hard to wait, hard to study before speaking. Most men lack that discipline. So when someone possesses it, people notice, even if they can't explain why. The loud man may win the moment. He may gather applause, he may flood the room with his energy, but his dominance fades quickly because it wasn't anchored. It was built on emotion, not intention. But the quiet man, he wins the room, the respect, the legacy. Think of a general before battle. The tents are full of nervous energy. Officers are arguing, messengers are running, plans are changing by the minute. Everyone speaks. Everyone tries to prove they're ready, but the general sits silent, still, focused. He doesn't need to interrupt. He doesn't need to assert his authority. His authority is already established in how he carries himself. When he finally speaks, everyone stops. Not because they were told to listen, but because they want to. His silence made his words rare. His restraint made his voice command. This is the paradox of the quiet man. By saying less, he says more. Now ask yourself honestly, do you speak to be heard, or do you speak because you must? Is your silence empty, or is it full of purpose? Because there is a difference between silence out of fear and silence out of power. The first hides, the second builds. One avoids conflict, the other controls it. One escapes, the other strategizes. When your silence is intentional, you are not withholding, you are watching. You are collecting information, studying the room, understanding motives, planning your next move. And when you do speak, it is not to add to the noise, but to end it. That's the kind of influence that lasts. Not loud, not desperate, but deliberate. The man who waits to speak doesn't just command attention, he commands influence. Because people trust those who do not feel the need to fill every silence. People respect those who don't jump to prove themselves. The quiet man seems to already know, and that knowing becomes magnetic. Stillness becomes his armor. Precision becomes his weapon. His presence fills a room before he utters a single word. So let others chase the spotlight. Let others race to speak. You build your strength in stillness. Let your words be few, but forceful. Let your actions be quiet, but undeniable. Because in the end, the world listens not to those who shout the loudest, but to those who speak the least and mean it the most. Let your silence be your strength. Let your calm be your signature. And let your presence do what noise never could. Move people without saying a word. You win nothing by rushing what's not ready. There is a reason the finest meals take hours, sometimes days to prepare. The best dishes are not rushed. They are layered, simmered, tested. Ingredients rest. Flavors develop. And the result is something unforgettable. The same principle holds true across life. The best buildings take years to complete, not weeks. The strongest minds are forged over decades, not days. And the greatest legacies are built one brick at a time. Not with a sprint, but with patience. But most men forget this. Most men rush the process. They want results without readiness. They want mastery without apprenticeship. They want the reward, but they're unwilling to wait for the harvest. And then, when it all crumbles, they call it bad luck or bad timing. But the truth is often simpler and more painful. It's not a patience problem, it's a pride problem. Pride says, I should already have it. Patience says, I will earn it when the time is right. You must understand this truth at a deep level. What you force fails, but what you nurture grows. This is a law of nature, of success, of character. You can't force something or someone to be ready simply because you're eager. Readiness is a combination of timing and preparation. Both must be aligned. Without one, the other cannot hold. Why does patience protect your outcome? Because it teaches you to respect timing. It teaches you to listen, to study, to adjust, to refine. A fruit picked too early is hard, bitter, and useless. But that same fruit, when picked at full ripeness, is sweet, nourishing, valuable. The difference is not effort, it's timing. Think of a farmer. He doesn't tug on the crops to make them grow faster. He doesn't shout at the sky to make the rains come sooner. He prepares the soil. He plants the seeds. He waters them daily. Then he waits, not passively, but actively. He observes, protects, adjusts. He trusts the process, and because he does, he receives a harvest that is rich and lasting. Now picture a young apprentice in a master craftsman's shop. He's eager, hungry to prove himself. He begins building a wooden chair. He rushes through it, gluing joints hastily, sanding corners quickly, skipping the patient details that his teacher emphasizes. The master watches, says gently, "If you do it fast, it won't last." But the apprentice ignores him. He finishes the chair in one day, shows it off proudly, and for a week it stands tall. But in a month it breaks. A leg snaps, the joints loosen, the shine fades. His speed won him pride, but cost him permanence. What in your life are you rushing right now? A relationship you're forcing forward because you're tired of waiting? A decision you're making too soon just to silence your anxiety? A dream you're trying to reach before you've built the skills, strength, and strategy? Ask yourself, am I building something that will last or just something that looks good for now? Because the things that last, the things the world remembers, are not rushed. They are built slowly, deliberately. They stand the test of time because they were born of patience, not pressure. Think of the pyramids, cathedrals, great inventions, masterpieces of art and literature. None of them were completed in a day, and yet, centuries later, we still talk about them, not because they were fast, but because they were worth the wait. And the same is true of your own life. What you're building, your craft, your name, your future, it deserves time, it deserves care, it deserves discipline. So slow down, study your materials, refine your tools. Don't aim to finish fast, aim to finish well. Because fast success fades, but slow success stays. In a world that rushes, be the one who waits. Not because you're afraid, but because you're building something worth remembering. When you wait, you gain control over the outcome. Control doesn't come from chaos. It doesn't come from running faster than everyone else, talking louder, or making decisions in panic. Real control, lasting, unshakable, sovereign control, comes from steadiness, from the man who is still when others shake, from the mind that slows down when the world speeds up. Most men confuse speed with strength. They believe if they keep moving, they'll stay ahead. They confuse noise with direction. But motion without meaning is not momentum, it is madness. They end up running in circles, exhausting themselves without ever arriving. But you, if you wish to lead, to build, to last, must rise above the pull of speed. You must learn the art of waiting with intention. Why? Because when you wait, you see more. You don't just react, you observe. You don't just move, you calculate. You begin to see the things others miss, the hidden flaw, the silent warning, the subtle opportunity. Like a sculptor examining a block of marble, you notice the grain, the cracks, the texture. And so when you carve, you do not waste motion. Every strike has purpose. Impatience is the destroyer of vision. It's the lie that tells you to act now because something might slip away. But what's meant for you does not vanish in a moment. It waits for the man who is ready. And readiness is not built in a rush. It is built in silence, in solitude, in stillness. The reason waiting increases control is not just because it delays action. It's because it enhances perception. When you delay the impulse, you make room for wisdom. When you hold back the urge, you create space for strategy. And from that space comes clarity. From that clarity comes certainty. And from that certainty comes power. Picture a captain guiding his ship along a jagged coastline. The fog rolls in. Visibility vanishes. What does he do? He doesn't scream. He doesn't sail blindly into the dark. He anchors. He studies. He watches the sky, the water, the rhythm of the tide. He checks the stars. And when the air clears, then he moves. He sails not with guesswork, but with guidance. That's control, not in domination, not in rushing past the storm, but in mastering your response to the storm. So ask yourself right now, are you acting out of anxiety or are you acting from clarity? Is your current path one you chose with your full mind or one you were pressured into by fear and haste? The man who waits doesn't fall behind. He takes command of time itself. He decides what matters. He directs where his hours go. He sets the pace. While others are reacting, scrambling, switching lanes, he is designing, he is deciding, he is leading. Control is not power over people. It is power over yourself, over your focus, over your emotional triggers, over your reactions. And the first step to that mastery begins when you stop rushing to be in charge and start preparing to take charge. Most men race to prove they're not behind, but they forget the man in the lead is not always the man who wins. The man who wins is the one who knows where he's going, the one who sees the whole field, the one who knows when to act and when to pause. He acts with restraint, and because of that, his strike is precise, his aim is true. In your own life, you may be tempted to act fast, to respond to pressure, to silence the doubt by doing something, anything, now. But pause, breathe, ask, is this noise or is this a signal? Is this urgency or is this a distraction? The man who masters his moments does not fear the silence between them. He uses them. He shapes them. And from that discipline, he becomes a force no chaos can shake. So begin here. The next time you feel the rush to act, wait just long enough to think. Wait long enough to see what others are missing. Wait long enough to gather not just facts, but insight. Then move, not out of fear, but out of faith. Not from pressure, but from purpose. That is control. And it is built not in the storm, but in the stillness before it. Patience protects you from making the wrong enemy. The wrong word spoken in haste can spark a war that never needed to be fought. A sharp reply, a rush decision, a hasty judgment. These are not signs of strength. They are signs of a man who has not yet mastered himself. And that lack of mastery over time becomes a weakness others can exploit. You don't need to engage every insult. You don't need to defend yourself to every fool with an opinion. The more time you spend proving your worth to those who don't matter, the less time you spend becoming someone who does. A man of wisdom doesn't waste his days reacting. He responds only when the response serves a purpose. Not to satisfy ego, not to win petty debates, but to create real impact. Why is patience such a powerful defense? Because it puts your emotions under command. It separates signal from noise. It teaches you to pause, to wait, and to observe before you act. And in that pause, you gain something far greater than momentary satisfaction. You gain perspective, clarity, control. Patience is the armor that guards your focus. It stops you from bleeding energy over people who don't deserve it. It prevents you from planting seeds in dead soil. And while others are busy reacting, consumed by drama, provoked by every slight, you remain still, working, watching, growing. Imagine a wise old statesman. He's slandered in the papers. Whispers circle around his name. His rivals bark, but he does not respond. He does not explain. He does not retaliate. He continues to build, to serve, to lead, because he knows the noise fades, but his work endures, and in time, the noise does fade. The critics lose breath. The gossipers move on, but his name, his legacy, that becomes something even his enemies must respect. The man who wastes time chasing every accusation ends up breathless and bitter. But the man who guards his fire, who saves his energy for battles that matter, wins not only the war, but his peace. So look at your own life. Who are you trying to prove yourself to? What argument keeps circling in your mind that you should have let go months ago? What small conflict has distracted you from your greater mission? The truth is, not every challenge is worth your time. Not every person deserves your explanation. You are not in the business of reaction. You are in the business of results. And results are born in patience, in discipline, in focus. Yes, it takes strength to speak, but it takes greater strength to stay silent until the time is right. It takes courage to act, but it takes wisdom to know when not to act. Patience doesn't make you weak. It makes you strategic. It's how you hold your position while the storm passes. It's how you conserve your power while others waste theirs. And it's how you strike only when it counts, with precision, with timing, with impact. The man who is quick to speak often regrets what he says. The man who is quick to act often misjudges what's truly happening. But the man who waits, who watches, who weighs the situation, he moves only when he's sure. And when he moves, he doesn't miss. Think of your life like a fire. You only have so much fuel. You can waste it throwing sparks at every shadow, or you can conserve it, refine it, and unleash it when the moment truly demands it. The strongest warriors aren't the ones who swing at everything. They are the ones who stand still, observe the battlefield, and wait for their enemy to expose their weakness. Then they strike. Once, hard, clean. That's how you must live. That's how you must lead, with patience as your shield and discipline as your sword. So the next time someone tests you, pause. Ask yourself, is this battle worthy of me? Or is this noise trying to pull me off my path? And then walk away. Not in fear, not in defeat, but in control. Because real power is not proven in how loudly you react, but in how quietly you endure and then excel. Guard your energy. Save your fire. Win with patience. Patience is not passive, it is strategic power. Many mistake patience for passivity. They believe it is the absence of action, the silent consent to delay, the mark of hesitation. But nothing could be further from the truth. Patience, when understood and trained, is not weakness, it is refined strength. It is not idleness, it is strategic restraint. To wait with purpose is the highest form of discipline. It is the art of doing only what matters, and ignoring the distractions, noise, and false urgency that trap the average man. You don't wait because you're lost. You wait because you know exactly where you're going, and you won't waste your steps. A patient man isn't idle, he's deliberate. Every moment he pauses is not a sign of confusion, but a signal of control. He's not avoiding action, he's preparing for the right action. In that stillness, he is sharpening his awareness. In that silence, he is calculating his next move. While others scramble to look busy, he is storing energy, gathering intelligence, and refining direction. Real patience is a tool, a weapon even. It is used to outlast the reckless, to exhaust the impulsive, to see clearly while others are blinded by emotion. Patience gives you the ability to sit through storms without being pulled into them. It is not retreat, it is preparation. It allows the noise to pass so you can hear the signal. It lets others reveal themselves while you remain hidden, composed, and unshaken. Why is patience a form of strategy? Because strategy is not speed, it is timing. And timing belongs to the one who watches longest, not to the one who moves first. The patient man studies. He maps the terrain of the situation. He observes patterns. He prepares for disruption. He doesn't react to every flicker. He waits for the fire to show its direction. Then, and only then, does he act with force, precision, and think of the hunter in the deep woods. He rises before the sun. He moves without a sound. He knows his prey is near, but he does not rush. Hours pass, the wind changes, the forest stirs, he watches, he adjusts, and when the moment comes, he does not hesitate, he does not miss. Now imagine bringing that same level of still awareness to your life. How different would your days look if you stopped responding to pressure and instead moved with pure intention? How much more would you accomplish if you stopped being pulled by every demand, every emotion, every distraction, and instead chose when and how to act? That is what patience makes possible. It gives you leverage, and leverage allows you to move mountains with a finger instead of a fist. You no longer rely on brute force. You don't burn out trying to control every variable. You conserve your strength and use it where it will matter most. In a world where men are taught to move fast, speak fast, and prove themselves at every turn, the patient man becomes a rare force. He doesn't show his plan. He doesn't argue with fools. He doesn't race for visibility. He waits. He builds. He watches others exhaust themselves, and when he moves, it changes everything. But understand this, patience is not natural. It must be trained. It is forged in discomfort, in moments where your instincts scream to act, and you choose instead to pause, to breathe, to watch. It is the quiet, internal discipline of a man who has nothing to prove, but everything to protect. You will be tempted time and again to chase what isn't ready, to respond to what isn't worthy, to act before the ground is firm. But the man who can endure that pressure without flinching, he becomes unstoppable. Because while others react to life, he commands it. He doesn't chase outcomes, he chooses them. So ask yourself, how much of your energy has been wasted in unnecessary motion? How many battles have you fought that didn't need your sword, only your silence? What heights could you reach if you moved only when the moment was right? Patience is not just virtue, it is advantage. It is clarity in the fog. It is stillness before the strike. And it is the edge that turns ordinary men into legends. Move with intention, not impatience. Wait, not out of fear, but out of confidence. and let the world see what it means to act with mastery. The man who waits builds a fortress while others build tents. Life doesn't ask if you're ready before it tests you. It simply arrives, with pressure, with resistance, with storms that shake the ground beneath your feet. And in those moments, the truth of your structure is revealed. What was built in haste, what was thrown together for show, for applause, for speed, will not hold. It will bend, it will break, it will be swept away. But what you build with intention, what you construct brick by brick with patience and care, will stand, not just through one storm, but through many. Most men rush toward visibility. They want recognition now. They want the crown before they've earned the scars. Their eyes are fixed on the surface, on attention, applause, and validation. They build fast because waiting is uncomfortable. They don't lay deep foundations because foundations take time. They don't test their materials because testing delays the thrill of being done. But speed comes at a cost. And when the storms arrive, as they always do, their walls collapse under the weight of what they never took time to prepare for. But you are different. Your eye is on endurance. You are not here to be loud. You are here to last. You're not building for admiration. You're building for legacy. That means you must be willing to disappear for a season, to be unseen, to dig where no one claps, to lay stones while others sprint past you with sticks, because you understand something they don't. Legacy takes time. The patient man lasts longer because he refuses to confuse a single moment of excitement with a lifetime of meaning. He doesn't just build tall, he builds deep. He invests time where it matters most. He checks his foundation again and again, not because he doubts it, but because he honors it. He is not building a tent for the weekend. He is building a fortress for generations. Picture two builders standing side by side. One rushes. He uses cloth, rope, and weak wood. By sunset, his structure is up. It gets attention. It looks impressive, but it's hollow. The other builder takes his time. He digs, he measures, he studies the land. He carries heavy stones and lays them one by one. It is slow, it is invisible, it is lonely. But when the skies darken and the storms rise, only one man sleeps dry. Only one man wakes up to find his work untouched by the storm. The other, he scrambles to salvage what's left because he built for speed, not survival. So ask yourself, honestly, are you building your life like a tent or like a fortress? Are you making quick moves to be seen or steady ones to become unshakable? Patience is not the absence of ambition. It is ambition with direction. It's not the lack of desire, it's the control of it. It's knowing that greatness is not achieved by rushing ahead of others, but by going deeper than they're willing to go. Patience lets you build past the first storm, the second storm, and every storm that comes after. It gives you something better than applause. It gives you peace. Peace in knowing you didn't cut corners. Peace in knowing you didn't fake your way to the top. Peace in knowing that what you've built will still be standing long after the noise has died down. Let others race. Let them build fast and fall just as quickly. You are not here for fast. You are here for forever. So build slow. Build solid. And when the world shakes, you won't. Hold the line. Success belongs to the man who endures. You will not win because you started strong. You will win because you stayed strong when others gave up. When the path became lonely, when the results didn't arrive as quickly as you hoped, the world praises the beginning, the spark, the launch, the fresh idea. But it rarely honors the grind. It overlooks the man who shows up quietly, day after day, refusing to break, refusing to fade, refusing to vanish. That man, the one who holds the line when others retreat, is the one who reaches the summit. You don't need to move fast. You need to stay standing. You need to be there after the excitement wears off, after the motivation disappears, after the crowd goes home. Every man starts his journey with energy. That's easy. The beginning always feels good, but finishing, that requires something deeper, something internal, something forged in silence. Why do so few finish? Because they built their mission on fleeting feeling. They mistook a spark for a fire. But you must build differently. You must build from purpose. You must carry a reason so strong you'd rather suffer than quit. A reason that isn't shaken by a slow month, a missed opportunity, or a cold, empty night. That reason becomes your anchor, and that anchor keeps you from drifting when storms roll in. Endurance is not loud, it's not glamorous, it doesn't attract headlines, it's built in stillness. It's built in the days when you keep going while everyone else walks away. When they sleep in, you rise. When they get bored, you dig deeper. When they mock, you stay focused. That's how you build something that lasts. That's how you become someone unbreakable. Why does endurance beat talent? Because endurance refuses to vanish. While talent grows tired, while charm fades, while excitement burns out, endurance keeps going. It doesn't rely on feeling right. It simply decides to stay in the fight. And what refuses to go away eventually wins. It wears down resistance. It outlasts obstacles. It becomes inevitable. Picture yourself in a long race through a vast forest. At the start, the flashy runners sprint ahead. They're fast, loud, confident. They smile, laugh, boast. You run quietly, steady, focused. They glance back and mock your pace. But hours pass, days even, and slowly they begin to fade. One by one they drop, not because they lacked ability, but because they lacked endurance. And you are still moving, not the fastest, but still going, still breathing, still believing. And in the end, you're the one who finishes, not because you impressed anyone at the start, but because you never stopped. That is the secret few want to hear. That consistency is more powerful than brilliance. That persistence beats potential. That showing up even when you don't feel like it is more important than anything else. So ask yourself today, are you building a spirit that endures or a spirit that flashes and fades? Are you chasing moments of attention or building a legacy of resilience? Are you willing to stay when it's silent, when no one is watching, when your only audience is your future self? Your greatness will not be defined by how quickly you rise. Anyone can rise fast, but only the grounded stay standing. Only the rooted grow tall. Only the committed reach the peak. The summit belongs to those who endure. Stay strong, not just today, but again tomorrow, and again the next. That is how you win, not in a moment, but in a lifetime. Prepare in obscurity so you can perform in power. The spotlight is not the place to learn, it is the place to deliver. When the lights come on and the world turns its eyes to you, it's too late to train. It's too late to wish you had done more. The world does not reward your potential, it rewards your preparation. And that preparation is not built in front of an audience. It is earned in silence, in solitude, in seasons when no one is watching and no one cares. That is where your edge is born. That is where your power is sharpened. When it feels like no one is clapping, no one is listening, and no one is coming to save you. Those are not wasted moments. Those are the most important moments. They are the hours when your future is being built, quietly, steadily, without fanfare. You must learn to embrace obscurity, not as punishment, but as a gift. Because when no one is watching, you are free. Free to fail without fear, free to experiment, free to fall and rise and fall again without being judged. In that obscurity, you're not performing for applause, you're working for mastery. Why does obscurity help you rise? Because it gives you space. It removes the distractions of validation. It removes the temptation to compare. It places you in pure soil where growth is deep, not decorative. In that quiet ground, roots are planted, muscles are forged, vision is clarified. You're not building for attention, you're building for impact. The patient man does not rush to be seen. He is not desperate for the stage. He is not eager to impress before he's ready. Instead, he works, he trains, he sharpens his voice, his skill, his strength, not to be liked, but to be ready. So when the curtain finally rises, he doesn't panic. He doesn't fake confidence. He knows he belongs because he built himself for that moment long before it arrived. Picture a playwright at his desk, candlelight flickering against the walls. Night after night, he writes and rewrites. He reads his lines out loud. Again and again, he questions himself. He discards what doesn't work. He tries. He improves. There is no crowd, no praise, no critics, just the grind of getting it right. Months pass. Seasons change. And then, opening night arrives. The curtain rises. The room is packed. The audience is breathless. And when the play ends, they rise to their feet in awe. They call him a genius, but he knows better. He knows it wasn't genius, it was preparation. It was the silence that made the sound possible. Now ask yourself this, are you using your quiet seasons to prepare, or are you wasting them waiting for someone to notice you? This is where most fail. They hate the silence. They hate the shadows. They want attention before they are ready. They want praise without price. But if you cannot love the process, you will never survive the pressure. If you cannot work unseen, you will not hold your ground when all eyes are on you. Because what you do unseen is what determines what you can handle when you're seen. So shift your focus. Don't ask, when will I be recognized? Ask, when the door opens, will I be ready? Don't wish for a bigger platform if you haven't mastered your message. Don't dream of a crowd if you haven't learned how to carry yourself in silence. The spotlight is not earned through ambition. It is earned through alignment. Through days when you rise early, when you practice in the dark, when you finish the work no one asked for, when you prepare as if the opportunity is already yours. Let others chase fame. Let others post and pretend. You train in the quiet, build in the background, fall in love with the grind that no one sees, because one day the lights will come, and when they do, you will not tremble. You will step forward, like a man who has already been there 1,000 times in the dark. The power to withstand pressure begins in your mind. No storm can destroy a man whose mind is trained for it. The winds may howl, the waves may crash, the sky may turn black, but the man who has forged his mind in quiet preparation does not flinch. He does not flee. He stands not because the storm is weak, but because he is strong. Understand this. You don't break because life is hard. You break because your thinking was soft. Hard times are not the exception. They are the rule. Life will test you, stretch you, and confront you with moments you never asked for. But that's not the problem. The problem is when your mind hasn't been conditioned to endure what your heart must carry. The man who endures pain with patience isn't lucky. He isn't superhuman. He's trained. Slowly, quietly, in the dark when no one was watching, he has built mental armor. Day by day, thought by thought, until he no longer needs to try to be composed. He simply is, because he has turned pressure into practice. You must become that kind of man. The kind who chooses to train his mind while others distract theirs. The kind who builds internal strength, not just muscles in the gym, but muscles in the soul. You need mental discipline. You need emotional stillness. And that kind of strength is never built in comfort. It's built in the cold, in the silence, in the face of rejection, delay, failure, and fear. Pressure is not your enemy. It is your mirror. It shows you what's really inside. It reveals your cracks and your core. It strips away excuses. You can fake confidence in calm weather, but when the storm comes, your preparation or lack of it will speak. Why does pressure reveal power? Because it squeezes out what's inside. Weakness leaks, but strength holds. It holds under weight. It holds under chaos. It holds when everything is uncertain and the outcome isn't promised. The difference is not what the man faces, it's what he chooses to become before the pressure arrives. Picture a black kettle on a fire. The flames rise, the water boils, the steam pushes hard against the lid. If the lid is weak, it rattles, it shakes. Eventually it blows off, but if the lid is strong, it holds. It doesn't panic, it doesn't crack. The pressure builds inside, but the structure is firm. That's your mind. That's what you must forge, not through panic, but through presence. So ask yourself honestly, what are you doing to prepare your mind for hard times? Are you training your thoughts to bend without breaking? Or are you waiting for ease to last forever? You must expect resistance, not to be negative, but to be ready. This world rewards the man who can endure, adapt, and rise, not the one who needs everything to go his way. You don't get stronger by wishing for peace. You get stronger by practicing it internally, even when the world is on fire. That means you start building small. When someone irritates you, don't explode. Evaluate. When something delays you, don't curse. Calm down. When plans fall apart, don't complain. Compose yourself. These are not signs of weakness. They are signs of real power. They show the world, and more importantly yourself, that you are in control of your energy. And here's the truth. Your ability to stay patient under pressure is your proof of power. Not what you do when things go right, but how you carry yourself when everything is going wrong. Anyone can be calm when life is smooth, but can you breathe deeply in the middle of uncertainty? Can you think clearly when emotions are high and the outcome is unknown? That's where your edge is made. Think of the strongest men history has known. They weren't always the loudest. They weren't the ones making noise when times were good. They were the ones who made decisions when everyone else was losing their head. They spoke less, but meant more. They moved slower, but struck harder. Because they weren't just reacting, they were leading from a place of internal peace. This is what you must build. A mind like iron, a heart that listens before it leaps, a soul that has weathered fire and still chooses patience. The storms will come, that is certain. What's uncertain is whether you'll be ready. So begin today, not with loud declarations, but with quiet discipline. Wake early, reflect deeply, control your breath, choose your thoughts with care, respond with purpose. Let your mind become the one place that no chaos can invade. Because when your mind is trained, no storm can shake you. And when your patience is stronger than your pressure, nothing can break you. Every season has a reason, and every reason requires faith life. It's not a straight line, it moves in cycles. It turns like the earth. There's a time to sow, a time to reap, a time to rest, a time to fight. The wise man knows this, he learns the rhythm of growth, but most men, they fight against the season they're in. They demand harvest during planting. They crave action during stillness. And in that impatience, they ruin the process that was meant to elevate them. The truth is this: you don't fail because you're incapable. You fail because you don't wait. You must learn to discern, to observe your moment, to ask, what is this time asking of me? Maybe it's a time to build quietly. Maybe it's a time to prepare. Maybe it's a time to act boldly. But if you rush ahead without listening, you'll burn your energy in the wrong direction and end up exhausted, not evolved. This is not about passivity. This is about wisdom. There are moments when movement is necessary, and there are moments when belief is the most powerful thing you can do. To stand still and trust. To continue the work even when no results appear. That's not weakness. That's strength of vision. Because faith is the companion of patience. When the reward hasn't come, when the plan delays, when it feels like nothing is changing, that's when real belief is tested. Not belief in luck, not belief in fate, but belief in law. The law of cause and effect. That what you sow, whether today or 10 months ago, will in time yield something. But you must trust the process long enough to let it grow. Why do some men collapse when winter comes? Because they never prepared in autumn. They didn't store their strength. They didn't conserve. They didn't sow the seeds. And when everything turned cold, they were surprised, panicked, lost. They didn't collapse because of the cold. They collapsed because they didn't respect the cycle. And then when spring arrives, they miss it. Because they've stopped believing it would ever come. They've lost the rhythm. The inner clock is broken. But not you. Think of a man building a vineyard. He buys land, he clears it, he studies the soil, he plants young vines. The first year, nothing. The second, still barren. He waters, he prunes, he checks the roots. He waits. People mock him. Neighbors whisper, "Why waste all that time?" But he continues, silent, steady, faithful. Then, 1 year, the season shifts, the vines bloom, fruit bursts from branches, grapes heavy with juice, the wine flows. The world sees the result and calls it luck, but he knows better. He knows it was faith that built it. Faith that worked when nothing worked. Faith that believed in the law. Faith that never rushed, but always prepared. This is the mindset of the master, the man who builds something real. Not for applause, not for speed, but for legacy. Now ask yourself, and ask it seriously, are you trusting the season, or are you demanding results on your terms? Are you working in rhythm with time, or are you fighting against it, frustrated that your timeline isn't being met? Because success doesn't ignore time, it respects it. It partners with it. It studies the patterns of the universe and aligns itself with them. That's why it lasts. If you want your success to endure, stop forcing the bloom before the root is ready. Stop abandoning the field just because the fruit hasn't arrived. Keep planting, keep tending, keep believing. Because time is not your enemy, it's your ally. But only if you walk with it, not against it. Understand this. Every season has a purpose. The planting season is where character is forged. The waiting season is where faith is tested. The harvest season is where your patience is rewarded. And the resting season is where your vision is renewed. Each one plays its role. Each one matters. If you rush any of them, the whole cycle is thrown off. So don't envy the man who reaps today. You don't know how long he's been sowing. And don't pity the man who waits. He may be on the edge of something great. Instead, become the man who knows his season, who works it with confidence, who doesn't panic in the silence, who doesn't brag in the bloom, who simply honors the time he's been given and trusts the process that's unfolding. Because in the end, success isn't just about what you do, it's about when you do it. And the man who learns to move with the seasons becomes the man who is always ready when the moment arrives. You don't just win once, you win daily in your choices. Victory is not a moment. It is not a lucky break or a burst of brilliance. It is not a single decision or a one-time act of courage. Victory is a method, a quiet, consistent practice of choosing the right thing when it's hard, when it's invisible, and when no one else is watching. The man who wins once but lacks patience is like a match. He burns bright for a moment, then vanishes into smoke. He is a spark without a flame. But the man who wins daily, who makes the right choice again and again without needing applause, without craving shortcuts, that man rises, and he stays risen. Because he is not depending on the moment, he is depending on the method. You must understand something essential. Each day, life hands you a battlefield. Often it is not a war against others. It is a war within, against your own emotions, your impulses, your doubts, the temptation to quit, the craving for comfort, the voice in your head that says, just take the easy way today. That's where the real fight is, and that's where patience becomes power. Because patience is the decision to win small before you ever win big. It is the refusal to surrender the present moment to laziness, fear, or distraction. It is the quiet choice to keep building even when results seem distant. Why is daily discipline so powerful? Because discipline is not just a virtue. It is an architect. It builds the framework of your future. It lays the foundation brick by brick. Every time you choose to think before reacting, wait before speaking, endure instead of escaping, you are not just being good. You are constructing a life. You are creating a fortress that no storm can shake. And consider a sculptor standing before a massive block of stone. The crowd doesn't gather on day one. There is no applause, no sign of progress, just silence, sweat, and solitude. But he shows up. He studies the angles. He picks up his chisel and strikes. Not wildly, but with focus. He chips away a little, then steps back, measures, adjusts, strikes again. He does this not once, not 10 times, but hundreds, thousands. Days turn into months, then, one morning, it takes shape. The figure emerges, the lines sharpen. The beauty that was once hidden inside the stone becomes visible to all. The crowd gasps. They call it brilliance. But the sculptor, he remembers. He remembers the early mornings, the long nights, the aching arms, the days when nothing changed except his decision to keep going. The masterpiece was not made in a moment. It was made in a method. And so the question must come to you. Are you showing up today? Or are you just hoping tomorrow fixes itself? Are you expecting results without responsibility? Are you dreaming of victory without the discipline that creates it? Victory doesn't visit those who wait for motivation. It visits those who act with method, day after day, especially when motivation is gone. The man who wins in life is not always the most talented. He is not always the loudest or the luckiest. He is the one who trained himself to endure the silence, to show up when nothing was exciting, to push when no one was watching, to keep the standard high even when no one would notice if he let it slip. He is the one who says, I don't need to win everything today, but I will not lose myself today. That is a small win, but it is everything. This kind of man knows that victory is not found in the finish line. It is found in the footsteps, in the way you rise, in the way you carry yourself when the outcome is uncertain, in the habits you build when the spotlight is off. Every day is a vote for the man you are becoming. Every choice is a brick. Every action is a chisel strike on the sculpture of your character. If you think that your future will be decided in one big moment, you're mistaken. Your future is being decided right now, in the way you spend this hour, in the thoughts you accept or reject, in the promises you keep or break with yourself. Let the world chase flashy moments. You, instead, build something solid, something real. Stop chasing victory like it's an event. It's not. It's a lifestyle. It's who you are when no one's watching. It's what you do when results are delayed. It's how you behave when things are hard and hope is thin. Ask yourself today, what does winning look like for me? Today, is it showing restraint? Is it staying focused for one more hour? Is it sticking to your plan even when the emotions tempt you to quit? Then do that and do it again tomorrow. You don't need a miracle, you need a method. You don't need explosive change, you need quiet consistency. Let others collapse because they expected easy success. You build your edge in the daily, in the ordinary, in the unseen, because one day that patience will become undeniable power. And when others wonder how you suddenly made it, you'll know. It wasn't sudden, it wasn't magic, it was earned. One disciplined day at a time. True power doesn't shout, it waits, it watches. And when the moment is right, it moves with unstoppable force. If you learn to wait quietly and strike with intention, success becomes inevitable. Master patience, and the world will mistake your calm for weakness until it's too late to stop your rise.